Hello and welcome to this short NCFE provider update on entry-level vocabulary lists. My name is Charmaine Phelps and I am a Provider Development Officer for Functional Skills specialising in maths. It's my role to support centres through the planning, onboarding and CPD process for NCFE qualifications, focusing specifically on maths. We'll take a look at the key information first. In response to provider feedback, assessor instructions have changed and vocabulary lists are being produced for all live assessments from September the 1st this year, 2024. When you make a booking for a live entry-level assessment, the vocabulary list will be immediately available in the additional assessor instructions. The vocabulary lists within the additional assessor instructions can be used with learners up to 6 weeks prior to them sitting their assessments. And the assessor instructions have been updated and they're available from qualification pages. So we'll take a look at the main assessor instructions updates. You'll find the assessor instructions for functional skills controlled assessments on the qualification pages within the Assessment Materials tab. So if you click on Assessment Materials, then click on Internal Assessment Guidance, you'll see a drop-down of further useful documents, and it's these assessor instructions. You can download the PDF direct from there. So, changes that have been made in the instructions for assessors prior to the assessment. Assessors should familiarise themselves with the guidance documents provided prior to the assessment. A vocabulary list associated with the context of the assessment will be provided with the controlled assessment material. Assessors should use this list to prepare their learners prior to the assessment. The list is not exhaustive, and there may be other contextual words that some learners may find difficult to read or understand. Assessors can paraphrase and/or read other words that are associated with the context, but assessors must not read or explain words that are related to the subject content statements, for example, operators, numbers, and/or symbols. For assessment delivery, assessors should make the learner aware that you can read the questions and paraphrase the questions if necessary. However, you cannot provide answers to the questions. Make the learners aware that you cannot read or inform them of the meaning of any mathematical terms, including operators, numbers, and/or symbols. Assessors are permitted to provide acceptable levels of support to learners during the assessment. Acceptable support is listed as reading the assessment instructions before the assessment begins, reading the questions of the assessment but not the operators, numbers or symbols in the question once the assessment has started, paraphrasing the question provided the assessor does not help the learner in reaching an answer. The regulations for the conduct of controlled assessments functional skills, which should be used for all of your entry-level maths assessments as well as your entry-level English reading and writing assessments, have not been changed. So, here's something that we've highlighted here from the regulations. It does say, ensuring that when materials are requested by assessors, they're printed and stored in packets, envelopes that can be securely sealed until the day of the assessment. This does not apply to the additional assessor instructions. So those additional assessor instructions, which are only available to download once you have booked the assessment, they do not form part of the confidential materials that can only be opened on the day of the assessment. So please do make sure that if you're an exams officer or if you're an assessor, make sure that you ask for those additional assessor instructions that will be available once the booking has been made, so that you can, these should be shared with the assessors so that you can share that vocabulary with your learners. So we'll take a look at the additional assessor instructions. So we'll take a look at the format first. They all follow the same format. So here we've got the draft version of the entry-level 1 additional assessment, additional assessor instructions. So for the draft versions, we've only got one sample for each of the past papers that are currently available on the website. So it's for paper 14 for your entry-level 1, and paper 14 for your entry level 2, and paper 14 for your entry level 3 is what we have. So the paper number will be specified. So obviously make sure if you are accessing these, make sure they're the right ones for the assessment that your learners are going to be sitting. At the top of the document, as well as telling you which paper it comes from, there's the additional guidance on the support that assessors can give. So that's included there. So I've already mentioned about the vocabulary list not being exhaustive, and the assessors can paraphrase but not operate as numbers or symbols. And then we get the actual vocabulary list. It's shared in a table. The blank parts of the table represent the maximum number of contextual words that could appear in an assessment, but you'll spot from the other examples actually that there's nowhere near a full table's worth of contextual words in any of the entry-level assessments. So for this one, it's all about horse riding, so all of the contextual words about horse riding. So you can practice these with your learners before they sit this one as a timed mock before their live assessment. And we've put together some ideas for using the vocabulary lists. So here we have an entry level 2. Again, we're told the paper number, paper 14, it's the same instructions, and then we have our words. So this one is all about saving water. We've got water meters, weather forecast, plants, waters, rainfall, flushes, shower. So do check your learners' existing knowledge. Once you get your vocabulary list, share it with your learners, see what they already know. What do these words mean? What could they mean within the context? Some words have more than one meaning. So for example, flushes. We've got toilet here, so yes, we can have the flushing of a toilet, flushing with the water coming into the toilet to flush away everything from the toilet. But other examples of the word flushes could be, I might flush red with embarrassment, for example. So by all means, have a look at some other meanings of the words that you're given. But also do think about the most likely meaning of the word given the other words and the topic that you know that it's about. Your learners could use dictionary definitions. So if there are any words that they weren't familiar with, they could go to a dictionary and look up a dictionary definition. You might want to use images to support. So perhaps you could give your learners these words and they could do an internet search and try to find images that show what each of these things mean. They might want to create sentences that include the words. And again, that will help with showing that your learners actually understand the context of those words, and what those words might mean, and how, that they have a proper, full understanding of those particular words. And certainly make links with English learning. Particularly when you've got more than one meaning of the word. That in itself is interesting for English learning. Being able to use a dictionary is useful. So, and you might have learners who have English as an additional language. So certainly, not only can they look at a dictionary definition with an English dictionary definition, you can use a bilingual dictionary. A bilingual dictionary is allowed in your maths assessments. But obviously, if you've looked up the words beforehand, you're going to save time during the assessment. And here we've got the sample for the entry 3, paper 14, past paper. So this one is all about festival, and we're looking at tickets and stages and containers, donuts and stalls and toilets again. And as an example of particularly where we've got the need to we've got a vocabulary list, but it is not exhaustive, and also what can and can't be paraphrased. So I've given an example here. So in this question from paper 14, from entry level 3, the question says, Rachel sees this information about recycled cups at events. So we've got the different events, number of cups recycled. Complete the bar chart to show this information. There's 3 marks available. So appropriate assessor support would be, now we've already looked at recycled cups, it's in the vocabulary list, so we should have an understanding of that. However, the word event is not in the vocabulary list. So if your learner does not understand the word event, you may want to paraphrase. So as an example, you could say, Rachel sees this information about recycled cups at different shows and festivals. So that's an okay way to paraphrase this same question, should you have a learner that doesn't understand the word events. That's fine. What you couldn't do, what the assessor could not do, is paraphrase the word bar chart. And you couldn't explain that word either, bar chart. Your learners should know the mathematical words, any words that relate to the subject content statement, for example, operators, numbers and or symbols, but also words like bar chart. So thank you very much. I hope you found this session useful and helpful to give you a bit of an overview of how you can use those additional assessor instructions, where you'll find them, how you can use the vocabulary lists, and what is and is not appropriate support for assessors to give during assessments. If you have any questions about the new vocabulary lists, please do get in touch. My email is charmainephelps@ncfe.org.uk, and you also have other key contacts here. Thank you so much for your time.